Hello everyone and welcome back to the ROKER RAPPORT podcast in association with Vaux Brewery. My name's Alex, I am joined by Anth and former Sunderland defender LEE Howey. So we'll start with you, Lee, how you doing?
Good. A little bit disappointed over the weekend, but generally okay.
Yeah, I suppose you will be, wouldn't you really?
You've got to be, that's
Yeah. And as I just said there, I'm also joined by Anth. How are you, Anth?
I'm fine. I remember Lee as a striker, actually, as opposed to a defender.
Right.
But absolutely fine. Bit cold.
But otherwise
wet.
Okay?
Otherwise brilliant. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I've got a radiator key, so everything's fine.
All right. Well, I mean, if that's the highlight of your weekend, then clearly Sunderland have lost. That's generally how you know if you're clinging to sort of home appliances as your highlight of your weekend. But so obviously Sunderland have appointed a new manager. That's always interesting. The Sunderland women's team did remarkably well in their game today against Sheffield FC, where they beat them 6-1 away from home, thanks to a second-half hat-trick from Charlotte Potts and a chip from Georgia Gibson to give the ladies a big win at the Home of Football Stadium. Massive result for them, and that right there is where the positives end, because Phil Parkinson's Sunderland didn't exactly start with the honeymoon period we were hoping for, as they went to Wickham Stadium, Adams Park, and lost 1-0 in a pretty dour game where they didn't put up much of a fight and were rightfully kicked off the park by Gareth Ainsworth's side. So, you know, let's just start chronologically. Obviously, this was Parkinson's first game. It didn't get off to the way he would have hoped it to. But what do we make of that appointment first and foremost? We'll start with you, Lee.
Again, I think like all of us, we were looking at the list, and it wasn't filling anybody with any real hope. Again, I think sometimes that's the options we had, and we don't know what the conversations were in terms of contract decisions, availability, etc. But we're gone with Phil Parkinson now, and I think ultimately that's what we've got to move on and look forward and see if we can actually get promoted, because I think that's absolutely paramount this season.
Mm-hmm. I think the issue with obviously being a club currently in League One, I don't want to call us a League One club because I still don't want to accept it. But obviously, as a consequence of being where we are, I think that the list of candidates was never going to be the most glamorous. I think that was always going to be a problem.
Yeah, again, I mean, I think we are where we are. Ultimately, I don't think there's a lot of money there. I know the fan base is fantastic, and to be able to the opportunity to be able to manage something must be huge. But still, I think in the current situations, I think it's a difficult job. I think it's a really difficult job, and being able to get the best managers to come and take it on will be difficult. And again, they're probably asking for a lot more money than we've actually got. So it's where we are. There's not that much money. We're down at the bottom in terms of the pool and where we can get any managers and players from. I think that's the realization some of the fans have to take. We're not a Premier League club anymore, and I think ultimately we're dealing with managers that's maybe been in League One most of their League One, maybe Championship at the very, very, very most, and that's what we've got to do.
Yeah, and that is precisely how you describe Phil Parkinson. He's a man who's been in and around, mainly in and then out of it, League One for a very long time. So I think he'll have been under no illusions what the budget was probably going to be, what the parameters were going to be, the expectation. I think and to that end, he was probably a very smart appointment, you would say, if not an inspiring one.
Yeah, again, he's got experience. He knows the role. He knows what to do. He knows how to get out this division, and that's what we need. And I think for me, and there was obviously the conversation about the Jack Ross, but I wasn't a big fan of Jack Ross, and I'm hoping that now, he's had probably his one day to coach his players, Phil Parkinson, before the game. So hopefully but again, we've got a game again on Tuesday, so he's not going to get much time. But no. And maybe that's going to be the difficult for him. And I guess maybe by the time we've had another international break, we might see the Phil Parkinson side that we're hoping to see. But at the moment in time, it's going to be thick and fast for him.
Oh, definitely. What about you, Anth? What do you make of Parkinson's appointment?
I think the irritation with the fans, first and foremost, was due to the fact that people were being linked by media outlets left, right and centre. You had people mentioned Chris Hughton, people mentioning Sam Allardyce, also mentioning Nigel Pearson, who would be probably, as you say, the glamorous appointment. However, I think the realistic managers that we could have had, like Lee with Phil Parkinson or Gareth Ainsworth, who beat us yesterday. So I think Phil Parkinson's probably the right man for the job. As Lee says, he's been there, he's done it, he's got us out. He's got them rubbish teams like Bolton and Bradford and Colchester. They've got promotions with all three of those. He was embargoed, I think, with two of those clubs. He's had all sorts of financial issue clubs and still got them into decent places, especially the League Cup final with Bradford as well, which was some feat. So I'm quite happy with Phil Parkinson. I don't think we can judge him too much on the performance yesterday. He had less than 80 hours in charge before the end of the game. I can't see him being. We are the antithesis of many clubs. We can't. We never have a big manager bounce. Every time we change a manager, we don't normally go in and win 7 off the bounce and everything's great again.
Unless the second game involves playing Newcastle, of course.
That's allowed. That's fine.
In every other scenario, you're absolutely right. It just doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah, I bet it was great in the LEE Howey household. Phone calls to his brother.
It's only red and white in my house, so don't worry about that.
Good stuff. So let's talk about the actual game itself then. So Parkinson made 5 changes to the team that last time out, in the league, lost to Lincoln. Last time out beat Grimsby 3-2 in the good old tin pot leasing.com trophy, the worst name for any professional competition in the Football League. But I digress. The 5 changes were Burge, Whatmore, Hume, Leadbitter and McGeady for McLaughlin, Gooch, DeBock, McGeoch and Maguire. There were a lot of very big changes in that team, and I think that for many signalled quite a few fundamental changes to the team. Obviously, John McLaughlin lost his space in the first team for what is the first time ever, really, only ever losing it to Robin Reuter in sort of secondary games last season. This is the first time he's actually lost his spot, and Lee Burge has taken the number 1 mantle. And then, of course, there was Duncan Whatmore, who's came right back into the side when many were expecting him to be out of the running for a little while longer, which was a very reassuring sight. But what did we make of that team when you first saw it on the team sheet, Lee?
I think, again, you're looking for some sort of reaction. Again, as a manager, and I've been in this time, the manager just comes in, he's got a group of players that he knows maybe something about some of them. He's got a little bit of an idea, but he put a training session on and he looked to see it was bright and breezy. He's probably got a wave he wants to play, and he's just thought, right, I fancy Duncan. I fancy, he probably understands that maybe John McLaughlin's made a couple of errors and stuff like that. And he probably he's done quite well. So give them a go. He's after that bounce because it's the same old team roughly week in, week out, apart from 1 or 2 changes, generally in midfield or 1 up front or whatever it is. But I think he's just trying to make some more changes just to see if he can get some sort of reaction. But unfortunately, it didn't work.
No, I don't think the team really had the desired impact, did they?
No, it was really, really disappointing again, especially going forward. There just seemed to be I think again, it's maybe what's happened in the recent weeks where we've been waiting for a manager, and I think that they just looked off the pace. Generally, they look weary. Just didn't look as though they win the game at all at any stage.
No.
How do I feel in general about Will Grigg starting on the bench? I thought he scored the winning goal against Grimsby, albeit in a terrible cup competition. But it's confidence. It's a confidence thing, isn't it? So if he goes into the game yesterday, start the game, see if he can get him firing again. I was well surprised that Grigg didn't start.
No, it was the same month. I thought, out of anybody, he's the guy who's been getting goals galore the season past in the League One. And if we can get him scoring, we've got a chance.
Yeah.
And I thought, again, a change of manager can just change. We've seen it lots of times. A player can get in from one manager, another manager comes in, and you get a spark, and he's away and he's firing. And I think it was maybe an opportunity to stick him in, to maybe put on round and say, "You're my man."
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think Greg needs someone to say that to him, really, all things considered, just given how his confidence generally seems to be going. I mean, it's no secret that Phil Parkinson likes his target man. That's been a big staple of his style of play at most of the clubs he's been at, which I suppose is probably why he opted for Charlie Wyke in the end. But I think his hand's probably forced to play Grigg now because Wyke's going to be out for a while with that injury he picked up. But I think that is that something again though. I don't want to say that was a mistake that Parkinson's made, because I don't want to start already hauling him over the coals after one game. But was it a mistake? I'll go to you, Anth, to play Wyke over Grigg.
No, well, I'd have played Wyke and Grigg together. Go 2 up top. But I don't think, as you say, we can't slam Phil Parkinson for anything at the minute. He hasn't, like Lee says, he's had 1 training session probably, and he's picked the side on who's probably the most energetic and most who wants it more, basically. I think you'll find by Tuesday night he'll have a better idea, and then by Saturday we'll have an even better idea, and hopefully we can start firing ourselves back up the league. Because where are we? 10th now.
10th.
It's heartbreaking.
That is like actual mid-table. Like there's no beating around the bush. That's not even like a playoff contending place. That is a genuine mid-table spot. It's absolutely sickening looking at that table now. I can't even do it.
I think we're something around 8 points away from automatic promotion.
Oh yeah. Well, it would have been 11 if Ipswich had beaten Accrington, but thankfully that wasn't the case. I mean, I know I don't want to get despondent already when we're just in October, but if the team top of the table where you're meant to be is already 11 points higher than you, then it doesn't look nice, does it?
Yeah. I mean, we haven't played well. I mean, we all know we haven't played well.
Absolutely
and
not.
Still, I mean, I know we're 10th, but there's so many teams around that playoff position. Is 4 points. It shows you how poor that league is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have to take it. Well, I've been saying it now for a season and a bit. Just got to try to take the game by the scruff of the neck all the time. But we always seem to be, under Jack, so much defensive again. Why not play 2 up top? Why not play the target man with, I mean, not next week because he's Wigan, Andy, another. We seem to be always putting this lone striker, and I just don't think it works in this league.
No, I agree. I think when the team sheet came out yesterday with McGeady, Watmore, and Wyke up top, I sort of looked at it and went, "That's not 4-3-3. That's a 4-5-1.
Yeah,
that's defensive. It's incredibly defensive." And I think we need to have a bit more belief that we're going to go out there and beat these teams, because we seem to be just. Like we said under Jack Ross, perhaps maybe his staff have said this is the way the team we're playing. If you're going to amalgamate yourself within the squad, then put this side out on Saturday. But I'm praying that we kick on, because another defeat for Parkinson, and I think everyone will be screaming for Jack Ross back, won't they? Even though it was the.
No, I don't think so.
Well, that's the thing. Honestly, I don't even want to go down that avenue of thought, because I just don't want to entertain it.
Yeah.
But what the fans are crying out for the Tranmere game, I think, is just a good 4-3-3, or just any kind of like attacking formation. Like a team that I think, I would say you bench Ledbetter and you play maybe a more mobile holding midfielder in his place alongside 2 offensively oriented ones like 1-9 and Power. 2 wingers, a striker, and then obviously your 4 defenders and keeper. And I think if you just go out there from the get-go and you're playing with a lot of intent and a lot of just attack and purpose, the fan, you're going to really endear yourself to the fans, because we've had this like hesitation and reluctance to sort of like take a team by the scruff of the neck and just drag them about. Like we haven't ever seen that, and I feel like we definitely can do that.
Ever since we've been in League One under Jack Ross as well, for me, is we've done well for 20 minutes and then struggle for the rest of it. We just seem to be okay, and then sometimes we concede, and then we get back in the game, and it's like, go on, well done. We're getting that momentum, and you're starting to think, Joe, but then it just fades away.
Yeah, then there's a backwards pass, and then everything just goes, doing this again.
And unfortunately, we might concede again, because at times our defence has been. But I mean, I look at that squad now, and it's a bloody good squad. It's the best out there in terms of what we got. I think the defensive that's been shored up now. I think, but somebody needs to get that. I'm hoping it's Phil Parkinson being able to get some confidence and some momentum into that team.
That's just it.
And for me, the only way you do it is go out and attack. Say, be positive. Give the lads just positivity. Go on.
Yesterday, I felt that Wigan beat us. They definitely. I mean, I know it finished 1-0, but they played us. They played the better side. They were the better side all game. It's not as if we were actually like 50-50, and it could have just, if one had gone in off Charlie White's backside, then the game could have changed. But it wasn't. I mean, Akinfenwa was an absolute nightmare to defend against yesterday. He should have had the hat-trick of headers, I think, from corners. And I think it's hard to judge, because I think Wickham are going to be up there or thereabouts by the end of the campaign, seeing as they're on such a good run of form, and they just seemed a decent team. But as you say, we have the squad to be beating sides like that, and we seem to be struggling to find any sort of tactic that will be capable of doing it. Personally, I'm not a manager, never have been, but I'd go back to 4-4-2, go full basics, go back to basics and build on the 4-4-2. And you can make small changes as it goes on. But like I say, I'm not a manager. I'm just a football manager. That's all I am.
Well, we'll get into like a full-on sort of dissection of that horrendous game in a moment. But just before we do, we'll have the 3-word review. So we've not had that in a little while, but I'm going to presume that we all still know how that goes, basically. You know, via the Roker Report Twitter, we asked the good people of social media for their... What was that laugh?
Oh, so there was some maniacy on the 3-word review yesterday, one of which I'll not repeat.
No, there was some very, very good ones, but the selection I've got here, and we'll see what you think of these. So yeah, we asked the people of Twitter for their summary of the game in 3 words exactly, and here's what we've got. Keith Cowden says normal service resumed. Jake Collinson says Parkinson's problematic plethora. Bomber says fans' heads gone. James Atkinson says not going up. Reese Williams says still going up. And then in the next one it says sign up Akinfenwa. Gavin Moan says mid-table team. David Hamblin says should have got Phillips. Tom Pugh says takeover desperately needed. Barry DF says relegation yet again. Don't. Bilbo Ball Baggins says games in hand, and Stefan Spencer says 48 hours. So let's just jump straight back into the game then. As we can tell by the 3-word review, we're not exactly in the best of spirits as a fan base. Not that we ever are, of course, but you know, more so than ever, where we're not doing particularly well. So we'll go straight back to you, Lee. So just give us your thoughts on the game from start to finish.
I think it was, for me, it's the same old issues in terms of physicality, mobility. I think at times we go for this 2 central defenders, central midfield players who sit in, and I think it makes us a worse team. I just don't get the one up front and this 2 central midfield. It's defensive, and again, I think teams are easy to, and it's common knowledge. Teams play Sunderland and they lift the game. Mm-hmm. They lift the game. They play an extra 5-10%, and we're unable to hang on to that. We seem to not very very rarely being able to match some of these teams who come at us a bit more physical, more energy, and I think we just get overrun, and ultimately we don't create anything, and it's really disappointing. You know, mm-hmm. you again, it's always said you don't. With Sunderland, we're a big club, and that doesn't give you the right to win games, but you want to see us compete, and I think that was the big thing for me yesterday. We just didn't compete.
No, absolutely not.
In any part of the game.
Does a team going for automatic promotion play 2 holding midfielders in a team?
No.
You just don't do it.
The teams that we've seen when we've been down there, the Lutons, the Charltons, stuff, they go for as I say, they go for the throat. They'll get 1, they'll get 2, they'll get 3, they'll blow teams away. Mm-hmm. We've never done that. But very occasionally we've won. It's only 2-1. We're hanging on. It hasn't. So far in the last 14, 15 months that we've been, it hasn't been good.
No, it's been. If you look at it really, if you're judging us against the standard of promoted teams, then we are pretty toothless. I mean, you just look at yesterday's game for the epitome of that, as you say. No shots on target, save for 1 from McGeady when he hit the bar in like the 91st minute. Mm. You know, what's that all about?
No. As I say, that's the frustration, and that's the frustration we all feel. You know, we're all on social media. We're all trying to listen to the game. But that's where we are at the moment. It just seems we've gotten worse over the last 5 or 6 performances. Where especially gone away. I mean, the 3-0 at Peterborough was an absolute shocker of a display. Oh. Yeah, we
haven't fell apart like that since the glory Premier League days of yore with Poyet and Advocat, have we?
No, and that's the thing. That's the worry, and I'm hoping Phil Parkinson step in and we can stop that. He didn't yesterday, but again, as I say, he's just been in there days. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 days, but he needs to get somebody firing. We need to again ignite Will Grigg. Something needs to happen. Somebody needs to step out of the shadows and drag Sunderland through this hard period, and then we have a run-in where we can go 10, 15 games. Mm-hmm. That's happened many times when we've gone up. I remember myself when we had Peter Reid, when we went up. I know when we had Roy Keane, fairly low, and all of a sudden you go on a right run and you get there. But this moment in time, I'm not confident that's going to happen.
No, it's just when you look at yesterday's game, obviously we can't say that Parkinson's doing a bad job. The bloke's been here 5 seconds, but the end of the day is that there wasn't anything in the Wickham game to suggest that anything was different. And again, obviously, he's been here 5 minutes. He's not going to immediately stamp his entire ethos on every aspect of the club. Mm. But it was just more of the same dour football. you know, and to be honest, it looked even more dour than it usually did. You know,
I think it's just a hangover from obviously the Jack Ross, the way he played, and obviously actually getting the manager for me just took a little bit too long. There was just right to the. We're hoping to get a manager maybe a week before so he can actually do something and work. But it was right up to the last minute.
Typical Sunderland.
Yeah, it's typical Sunderland. And again, and then he turns up and he makes a few changes, trying for something different, and it never worked for him again. That's not his fault. He's just come through the door. But again, I think the players have got to take some responsibility. They've got to be able to, I've just said before, compete. As Sunderland fans, that's all we want. At the very, very least we want is for them to compete.
Well, that's it. I think, manager, no manager, identity, no identity. Regardless, we've got 11 players, albeit, a group of individuals currently under a new manager, but they're very, very good footballers by League One standard. And I think to play the way they did was absolutely, it was just pathetic because, surely they can put their heads together and come up with something better than that. I mean, Jesus Christ, you're playing. I know Wickham are very well drilled under Rainsworth, but it's Wickham.
Yeah.
If you look at their squad on paper, you've got Akinfenwa, who's like a big meme, but that's it. That's it. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not pound for pound. They don't have any substantial quality in that team. We should be able to pull something out of the bag to at least get a draw, if nothing else.
We did, didn't we? McGeady, the strike at the end.
Well, that's it.
That's the only thing he'd done all game. That's the surprising thing, that we had nothing. We were pretty much toothless for the entire game. There was no service for the strikers. There was nothing.
No.
It was just, I don't even know what we played. It was like defensive, just hoping the defence played well, and then perhaps one will go in off someone's backside up the other end, and then that was it.
Well, it was just shocking. I suppose that's a good time, Anth, to go to you. What were your just general thoughts on the game?
Probably wouldn't ask me. Trying to keep the language a bit clean. No, we were appalling, weren't we? I think Burge is probably the only positive out of the entire performance. Made some cracking saves. Defensively, we were quite astute, apart from the goal, which is generally the case, isn't it?
Yep.
We've done pretty well. And then two holding midfielders, as you say. We're not going to go forward if we're trying to pass sideways in the midfield, are we? And then give it to a winger who, Watmore seemed to have something about him. He was trying to cut in from the inside, from the outside, but he wasn't good. Just didn't seem good enough or on the pace. And then McGeady just turns up for the 15 minutes a game, as he always does, and then
either falls over or scores. One of the two.
Falls over and scores usually. And then Charlie White got himself an injury, going off at half time. There was just nothing. It was as if they had no game plan or nothing. And again, not blaming Phil Parkinson. He just probably hasn't had time to implement the game plan. I'm just praying that we build on that. And just make it at least half decent.
Well, that's it. If you want to look at the positives, maybe, then probably it isn't the case that, rather than saying in a quite like an angry tone, there wasn't a game plan. We could maybe just say, he hasn't had time to, as you say, to make a game plan. And that's probably going to be a fault of the hegemony, isn't it? That if you wanted to actually win this game, you should have got your manager in quicker than you have done.
Yeah.
Look, just as you've never been a manager, and I've never been a club's chairman or a club's chief scout, so I don't know exactly what the ins and outs are, but I do just think that maybe if we'd been a bit quicker, maybe you're talking 48, 72 hours quicker, then Parkinson's got that bit more time to assess his squad, to sort of put his style of play together, work on what he wants to work on with one or two more training sessions, and that could have been the difference between a 1-0 loss and a 2-1 win if he got just something ticking and he got something to click before the game. But the bloke's just come in, so I think if he has to shoulder any just like blame, then he shouldn't be, because we can't be slating the manager after literally one game where he's had moments to get himself together.
And you can't blame the manager for the lack of effort in terms. So for me, there's always the big saying in football, you've got to earn the right before you can play, and then that means you go out there, you fight tooth and nail, you work hard, and then with working hard and stuff and doing the fundamentals right, you then get the chance and then time to play. and Sunderland have probably the better skillful players than Wickham. Of course they do. But for me, they were just, and that's not the manager. The manager can scream at them. It's up to the players have to take responsibility and say, do you know what? We need to roll our sleeves up today. And there's not many of them did that yesterday.
I was just about to ask, how does a manager instill a work ethic in footballers who are earning more money than he is? It's quite the algorithm trying to get footballers to work hard for the cause, especially when the fans are on the back after one mistake as well. That
doesn't help.
It's not that.
You have to, as a manager, you have to get the players to buy into your method of play and how you want to do it. And again, and that takes a little bit of time. And that's what you need. I mean, we talked about Liverpool and the clock, and they bought in the clock, and they're multi-millionaires, and they'll run all day and run through big stuff. So you've got to get that mentality. And somehow I don't understand. You've got 30,000 at home fans, you've got fantastic away spot who'll just cheer and cheer and cheer you on if you keep going and trying. And some of them just, at times they don't seem interested, which is again, and that's why we get frustrated and obviously start getting upset with them. And then you get this cycle where it's negativity and it's not quite working. And until we turn that, until we start winning games and winning games well, then I think then you get the bounce. Then you get the bounce that everybody's after. But at this moment in time, it's not quite there.
And that's turned a bit sour with the fans. As soon as there's one mistake, it's just what is happening here? And you can hear them all. It's all a bit of a gasp and here we go again. And it's, who can blame them? We've had a dreadful run in a dreadful league. With dreadful tactics and a dreadful team.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, Anth. The issue with this current situation and why this restlessness amongst the fans is never going to go away as it stands is because every time that Sunderland are currently losing a game, we are becoming the worst we've ever been in our history. Every single game now that you lose, you drop a position and you drop to the lowest point the club's ever been at in the Football League pyramid. Currently, we're 10th, and we've never been that low in League One before.
I thought the lowest was 12th in League One.
Well, I mean,
I think even last season when we finished 5th, I think that was the lowest ever. I think that was the lowest ever we've ever.
Was it?
Well, the only other time we've been in the 3rd division, we finished first because we won it immediately. So so like if we, let's say, like hypothetically, I mean, I don't think we will because I can't entertain the thought. But say you lost to Tranmere, okay, or say you got a draw, and that draw meant that you went from 10th to 11th. Right, the fans are going to be with every game even more livid because you are sinking to the lowest point in the club's history. So what you've got to do now is you've got to just the only direction you can go is up if you even want to even get the fans to find you remotely likable, and that's fair enough because they don't deserve to have this much sort of misery to deal with over the number of years that we've had to. Think of what's the last decade been to a Sunderland fan? Absolute misery. Like what? Like, I mean, I at the same time, I do get annoyed when our fans are just constantly negative. But at the same time, like, why should they be positive? What the hell have they got to cheer about?
I think the positivity was ripped out of them. Obviously, this was the takeover. Then the manager's not playing well, and then it's waiting for this new manager coming, and then we get the list, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, look at this! This isn't good." And I think it went from we're having the Dell consortium coming over. We're going to be this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, everybody just had their legs cut off. It was just like, and I think that again, that backdrop of everything that's going on doesn't help. No. But again, it wasn't here last season, and we failed. We failed miserably last season as well.
We're not going to get a manager that's more reputable when there's such a takeover dilemma going on in the background. Anyway, there's or investment dilemma or whatever Stuart Donald wants to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if the fear is that if someone comes in, like, and you're about to change hands of ownership, what if the new owners don't like you? That's the fear.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know because at the end of the day, you could have anyone in charge of a club when they take over, and I mean, I would presume, I would hope, I would pray that the due diligence on the takeover, obviously fingers crossed, on the takeover, people's sort of moral compass when it comes to running a football club. But you can have anyone running a club these days, and as the EFL has proven, it's happy to let anybody just sink a ship if they want to.
Yeah.
You could look at Blackburn, look at Bury, look at Bolton. You could have the most benevolent philanthropist in the world, or you could have a complete despotic tyrant. Like it can go anywhere for you, and as a consequence, someone can just fire who they want if they want to. So if you're a reputable manager, like Anth says, do you want to roll the dice on that? It's one of those things, isn't it? It's funny, but yeah, look, it's just we'll go back to the lack of effort that we've perhaps seen from the players in the past game, because at the end of the day, you can pay a player, as we've said, to play football and score goals. You can pay them to run down a wing. You can pay them to do this, that, and the other. Okay, hence why the top teams have so many high-paid players. But you can't pay a player to believe in the manager. That's one thing you can't do. It's just that has to come from within, to use a cliche.
Yeah.
What does Parkinson need to do now to win them over Anth?
Win games. As simple as that.
Well,
isn't it?
the players.
The players. That's a tough ask, isn't it? Like I say, how do you instill the work ethic? I think he needs to go in there and just tell them that their places are untenable. All of them, every single one of them, have to play for their spot in this club. They have to be proud to play for us. I'm speaking like a true fan now. They have to be proud to play for us and get out there and want to play for the badge. I mean, I'd have killed as a child to play for this football club. I never got to. I was too rubbish. But I have tried.
Yeah, same.
But I just pray that, but like Phil Parkinson has the desire and more desire and more enthusiasm, and just is more encouraging than Jack Ross was previously. I just pray that can happen, and then we'll see on Tuesday, won't we? I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
It's two ways, or it's a mix. I mean, I've had managers where the tyrants, obviously the rule, it's a with a fist. If you don't perform, you're gone, and that's just the way they were at the times. You petrify you're going to lose your place, so you petrify you're out of the club, and that's or it's cajole, and it's where he puts the arm around them. And he's got a happy camp in training. Training's more fun. Training's it becomes a happy place to go train. And I'll go back to the days when we had Mick Buxton, and then when he left and Reedy came in with the staff, training just changed from being dull to really, really fun. It was a place we wanted to turn up. It was a place we wanted to go, and then it became a really, really good environment then to play your football. So it's how he gets that environment, and he changes that environment for the players to want to come and play. And again, I'm not wanting to play for the badges, so it all comes. But you want to go to training, you want to go to training.
Like I'll bring this back to the original point, but how exactly did those training sessions change, Lee?
We went from just really shadow player, which is where Mick would just put us in our positions, and then we would just play against nobody. It would just be patting a player non-stop. It was all of a sudden it was more noisy, more fun. It was head tennis. It was five-a-side games. It was competitive five-a-side games as well. Reedy used to join in, and it was. And you can imagine Reedy, Kevin Paul. There was some tackles going in. It was a great environment, and we loved it. And then we'd finish, and we wouldn't want to go home. It'd be like, let's have a tennis competition and stuff. And it was just all this good football, but always competitive. So you're just always on this competitive, and it was just always fed into. It was leagues. It was what we're doing, and it became a place of we really wanted. And all of a sudden, we're turning up for training earlier, so we can all have a game of head tennis. We're leaving later. We're all together. Them days we used to go out together. It used to be a great atmosphere, and that
brought in like a communal spirit.
Yes, and that's what happened, and we had fun. It wasn't always serious.
Yeah. Do you reckon the current Sunderland team has that? Just based on what you've seen, based on your assumptions, that we can't say for certain.
I've noticed that a difference, obviously, since we've been in League One. My job at the club is in the Jim Montgomery Lounge, and I do a bit comparing. I do a Q&A with the man of the match at times, and that season in the Championship that was horrendous, and you could just say the players just didn't even want to be there. I mean, they were just, can I just leave? Now you're getting the players up, and it seems to be a bit better atmosphere. But again, I think we did okay last season. We're on the roll. We'd gone with the cup final, so there was always that positivity. Obviously, we fell right at the end, but I think this season has been. Just hasn't happened again. I think and again, I think that worry, and that I think we all worry. There's no parachute payment next year. This is paramount that we go up this season.
Absolutely.
And I think that pressure is starting to build on all those fans. And I think the players then start. So it's trying to change that mentality that they have. Like, come on, go and enjoy your football again. Because if you do, these will scream and go mad and cheer on all the time. Yeah. But at this moment in time, I think we've just seen this it's just gone a bit flat.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone really flat.
I dare say, though, the players that we do have at the club currently, they're the kind of players where if we do get that kind of environment, not to make any assumptions of what it currently is like, but let's say that Parkinson really leads from the front line. He gets in, he's one of the lads, but also he's the gaffer, and he's organising them in the way they need to be organised. That they're having sort of really good, really effective training sessions, building that great sense of kinship. The chemistry is really there. That really seeps into like the identity. You've got players at the club like Max Power and Luke O'Nien, and they just seem like really. I mean, I know it's a bit of like a cliche we say at this point, but like they do seem like really good lads, and they seem like they're just really up for it, very enthusiastic, very positive. I think if we get what we need to get, as you've said there, in order, then we have players at the club who perhaps are the best kinds of characters to do that. But I think obviously it does just hinge on that. What else does Parkinson need to do, Anth? What else is missing that he needs to add?
You caught me by surprise again. If I knew that, I'd be the gaffer. To be honest, I think hopefully Parkinson knows exactly what he needs. Do you think we'll probably not know the best team until after his first transfer window? Do you think he needs to bring some more in? Do you think he needs like a leader, like a proper like an iron fist guy, someone who's going to come in and just like bring Akinfenwa in, terrify people in the changing rooms? You know what I mean? It's but I honestly I don't have the answer to that. I don't know whether Phil Parkinson feels like he needs to bring somebody in. I'd say on yesterday's performance, I would probably want to ship all 11 out and start again.
No.
But I can't really. I couldn't say anything for certain.
The issue with signing Akinfenwa is that we then have like the very unique 2019 problem of having like a YouTube celebrity as one of the lads, and then like you'll get all like the really like irritating YouTubers flocking around whenever he does, and I just don't need that in my life. That's not what I need. I mean, I don't keep up to date with it, but you know who I mean when I say football YouTubers. We don't need that. We do not need that at the club. We've got enough problems already without having to do it. Anyway, I think that's a good time to move on to the listeners' questions. But before we do, we have another competition announcement because we just love those now here at the ROKER Rapport Studios. We love a good competition. So this week, our friends at Flatback 4 offered one of our followers a free Sunderland jumper, perfect for those midweek games at the Stadium of Light. Again, when you sat there and you're miserable because it's 1-1. Yeah, well, we've got the perfect apparel for the occasion, so don't you worry if you were concerned about whether or not your Parker would sustain the physical and mental torment of that. Then you needn't worry. We're going to offer you a free Sunderland jumper to just insulate you both literally and metaphorically. So let's just get straight into it. We're pleased to announce that the winner goes by the Twitter handle Twang Mackham. So congratulations. Please DM the ROKER Rapport Twitter account with your contact details and we will get that jumper to you.
I just say I am fuming that's not me. That's one.
Well, it's...
I really wanted a new jumper.
And to be fair, this isn't me being like a shameless plug, but it was actually an unreal jumper. I would have had it, yeah.
Devastated.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but there can only be one winger. Winger.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm speaking like Jack Ross there. Yeah, no, there can only be one winner, and that winner is Twang Mackham. So congratulations, you have until 6 p.m. on Thursday evening to claim your prize. Otherwise, Anth will steal it.
Yes.
So yeah, that's that. Anyway, let's get on to the listeners' questions. We asked the good people of Twitter once again for any questions they would like answering. So let's just get straight into them. We have, first of all, someone by the Twitter handle Politicat76 who says, I would like to know what Lee's opinion of the commonly referred to new manager bounce is. And secondly, how long he believes it takes for a manager to really get a team to start doing what he wants to implement. So what do you make of that then, Lee?
It's a difficult one. I mean, again, we got it with Peter Reid. That was kind of different, but we definitely didn't get it with Mick Buxton. It all depends on the character of the manager, I think, sometimes. And then you've just seen, before I left Manchester United, we're playing against Solskjaer. He goes 5 or 6, 7, 8 games, and then all of a sudden kind of win one. I think it all depends. If the manager, Parkinson, got in maybe 5 or 6 days before this, we might have seen something. We might have seen something different. I think it's nearly impossible. We might see something different on Tuesday. So I'm hoping to see a bounce. I'm hoping to see he gets into them players over the weekend. You know, they have a Monday training session, and he starts to think, right, this is what I need to do. This is what, and maybe get some structure in that. And we might see a bounce. And again, I think if we start well, and it just breeds a little bit of confidence because the fans start get behind the team, and I'm hoping we do see a little bit of a bounce.
Yeah. So do you think it's maybe unrealistic to assume that the bounce starts from the get-go from the first game, or maybe does it just take a few games for that to get going?
Yeah, I think, like I just said, it all depends when the manager comes in. If he gets a bit of time to spend with, otherwise you just, again, unless it's a big name, unless you brought in a Kevin Phillips or we're talking about Big Sam and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's unrealistic. But you might have gotten some sort of immediate bounce, but mostly from the fans rather than maybe not the players. It's just something to appease the fans. But
I suppose, but maybe that could have been the difference. You know, I mean, maybe we can only really expect too much too soon when we've got like a celebrity style level of appointment. You know, someone like a renowned cult hero, well, not a cult hero, a renowned club hero like Kevin Phillips, or just a big name manager like Allardyce. You know, I think maybe that's when you can expect something immediate, but. Yeah,
and as I say, whether or not that was the right appointment, but I think Phil Parkinson, again, as we just said, he's probably a safer pair of hands, but it's at one game, and I'm hoping to see a little bit more on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, I think the risk of him becoming a figure of hate if we lose another one is quite high, because he wasn't that celebrity choice. He wasn't the high reputable gaffer that came in. He wasn't.
Why do you keep saying that, reputable?
So when you get the reputation in football, you automatically shoe-ins for the next job that becomes available, aren't you? So Sam Allardyce has been available for a while. He's obviously been here before. He's mainly a Premier League manager who saves club. But if he came to Sunderland, because the whispers were there when the takeover was happening, whether it is or not, it's different. But like I say, the whispers were there, and everybody sort of just went, get rid of Jack Ross now, get rid of him immediately. Sam Allardyce wants the job, turf him out. Just hopefully I'm just hoping that people are willing to give Parkinson some time and just don't hate on him immediately. And I know if we get beat again, it's going to be an absolute, it's going to be horrible.
It's going to be horrendous.
But I don't think we will get beat on Tuesday, because I'm mainly positive about life anyway.
I just feel like you would beat Tranmere at home. I just feel like you would. I mean, I think irrespective of whether or not it's a glorious win or it's just a win, I think Parkinson will get it. I think my greatest fear is the draw, because I think the most likely bad result at home is the 1-1 draw, as we're so accustomed to. I think if he gets that, then you're in a bit of bother. Obviously, if you lose, then it's going to be incomprehensibly awful, but that won't happen. Because I don't want it to.
I think Lee must have been playing last time we played Tranmere. I remember it always being nils apiece. Always 0-0 against Tranmere.
I remember playing at ROKER Park, and it was the year we went up, and it was one of my first ever games playing centre off. I played against John Aldridge, and I think we drew 1-1 each. And then we'd already been champions, and we played them last game of the season at their place, and we got beat 2-0, even though we absolutely battered them. We got a dodgy penalty. I can't remember the goal. I was probably too drunk by the time.
That'll be it, like once. Yeah. Good stuff. Anyway, on to the next question. This is from on a very similar topic. I thought what you just sort of broached there, Anth. We have one from Jack Hansen, who says, "Is this the most fractured, in inverted commas, the fan base has ever been? Fighting in the stands, arguing and abusing each other on social media. Is that irreversible? And how accountable are the fans for the negativity surrounding Sunderland right now?" So we'll go straight back to you, Anth.
I think the fans can be accountable for the atmosphere at the stadium. So when that's negative and turgid, then obviously it's going to transfer onto the squad. But once they're out there and playing football, if the fans get on someone's back, like Denver Hume, for example, when he's only a young lad, they get out there and he's made a bad cross, and then it's always swear words, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and that was from day one, wasn't it?
Oh, it was against Oxford. That was when it all started with him then. And the lad was he was up and down, he was dribbling, he was taking lads on, and then his final cross was a bit different, but obviously that might have been a bit nerves. The kid's a kid. If the fans are capable of turning that around and just fighting in the stands, that's just preposterous. To be fair, you're allowed your opinion, Stop fighting about it.
Yeah, like you can make your opinion without swinging a fist.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, I think that's sort of like a general rule for every adult, male or female. It's just kind of how it goes.
I don't go out windmilling when you disagree with me. Do you know what I mean?
No, which I benefit from because you're about 3 times the size of us. So like that's just as well that you don't do that. So yeah.
But yeah, I think it is probably the most fractured we've been probably since 94. 95 Buxton times, I'd say. When we were 16th, 17th in the old Division 1.
Terry Butcher, I think, as well.
95, yeah. The Ensley League Division 1, yeah.
Is that what it was called?
The Ensley League, yeah.
Didn't know it was called
Division
that.
1, yeah. 1985 it was.
I see.
Yeah, Glenn Hoddle was manager of Swindon as well.
Nice.
No idea why I know that.
Well, you
I think the difference between then and now is... It's social media and stuff, and you get whispers, and everybody's. And I mean, you just see it, and you just want to switch it off. You just think,
well, that's it.
Everybody's got their own opinion, but obviously then people jump down everybody, and you just hear it, and it's just non-stop, and you just think, please, just stop. Well, there's just no need for it.
Not at all. You even go back only like 10 years ago. You go back to say 2009, when maybe things weren't going well under Ricky Sprague. You'd leave the game. I'd be talking to my dad and my granddad about how awful the game was, but then you sort of disconnect from it, and then that's it. But social media gives a lot of very negative people a platform to just sort of like just stir and just sort of like linger and fester around the negativity from the game. So next thing you know, you've got like pylons and like hate brigades for specific players. It gets out of hand, and I think in a lot of ways, I think as far as football goes, the negatives of social media, I would say, far outweigh the good. I would say I just think it's a very negative force in the world of football these days. But yeah, I suppose for my own 2 pennies worth, I would say the fan base is extremely fractured. Is it irreversible? Definitely not. But I think
a few wins would change that straight away.
Absolutely.
Completely,
I think, or just even an attacking formation. I think it's watching players, someone making a big tackle would literally lift the crowd. It was always the same. Like you see at Roker Park, it was the same at Roker Park. It was the same here. Just get out there, and
that was one of the first things when I was playing. Every time I played, I thought, other than trying to score and stuff, that was like see if you can make some sort of
let them know you're there.
Yeah, just a clatter. All of a sudden you run, and then everything would seem to pick up from that.
Yeah,
give everybody a buzz. And
that's it. Our fans love a clatter. Yeah. Like Cattermole would 2-foot someone in the Premier League. Like you see like a just our fans love it. I mean, remember when Lamine Kone like wiped out Yaya Toure? Man, it was basically he got a standing ovation. Yeah. It was like we love stuff like that. I think they just want a bit of like aggression, just in general. Like obviously a win's a requirement against Tranmere. That goes without saying. But I think the fans want to see a lot of force and a lot of just something to maybe just channel the negativity into like raw positive anger, if that makes any sense. But
again, it's getting back to what I said. You got to earn that right, and sometimes that's what you need to do. You need to put your foot in. You need to, and then obviously the game then settles down, and then we can play up football. But just over the last 3 or 4 games, I just haven't seen that desire to go and want to, as you say, really get your foot in.
Yeah,
I think the more positive the squad is, the more positive the fans will be.
Of course, yeah.
I think, definitely. Just a few wins, and then suddenly, I think a lot of people's state of mind will be a lot more hinged again, rather than unhinged. I mean, we've seen some ridiculous things the past few weeks, months. That video of Tom Flanagan getting that stick off the Sunderland fans, absolutely pathetic. I mean, I wouldn't even mind, right? But Flanagan wasn't even playing in that game, and it's just
he's took time out of his time to go out there and sign some autographs. I mean,
Tom Flanagan, okay, you can have your opinions on him as a defender, and those can be what they are. But at the end of the day, the lad's been instrumental to 2 wins against Premier League teams. He's proved himself a very decent bloke, and
he's also a human. Yeah, he's a person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it.
He's not some sort of alien force from.
That's the most crucial detail. It's so easy, and that's again another fault of social media, is that people forget. People see like a professional footballer's profile as like as its own entity, and if you want to level abuse at that of any kind, you think you can. But you know what? If he was stood here, obviously the one bloke in the video didn't seem to mind, but at the end of the day, I think you have to step away and realise that just in the same way that us 3 are human beings, Tom Flanagan is a human being.
He is, and again, He's not playing badly on purpose. He's not.
No.
He's not doing it despite the Sunderland
Yeah,
fan.
exactly.
Exactly.
He wants the best for himself. The fact it's just not going well for him.
No.
And to abuse him for that is just
end of the day, like, you have a few bad games, right? And if you're not doing that well, it might transpire in the long run when he does eventually leave the club that he never really made the cut. And whether or not he does or he doesn't, I can't fault his effort. He's never not tried. He's never showed any sort of like anything to suggest his heart's not in it.
No.
So to get what he gets, and I think a lot of the time our fans have done a lot of things like that without thinking. I think there's been a lot of just like ham-fisted insults for no purpose.
But again, it's the minority again, and then
it is.
They get a platform on Twitter or this stuff, and then,
but you've just said it there.
Everybody just, the big brush gets to all of the Sunderland fans, and it's not. Most Sunderland fans want our team to do well, back the players. We talked about the Phil Parkinson. 99% of us fans will go on Tuesday and we'll go there to support the team and Phil Parkinson and want the best.
Yeah.
Whether we get it is another thing, but that's what we'll be wanting. That's what we'll be cheering for.
That's it again, isn't it? As you say, it's the platform on social media. The average gazer who's making a tweet saying, "Oh yeah, good game, lads. Didn't win, but we tried hard." Gets 2 likes off his mates and no retweets. And then the bloke who's calling Tom Flanagan something for no reason, or posting a video of some other bloke giving him chip for no reason. All of a sudden, that's doing the rounds, and then that's all people think of. Hence why I brought it up. It's all I could think of when I thought of the way our fans have gone on, because social media distorts the view of not only does it give a platform to people who don't deserve it, but it distorts the view of fan bases. So again, it's just.
Good question, that.
Yeah, but anyway, moving on. We'll go to you for this one, Lee. This is from Gav. He says, "What lessons do we think Parkinson will have learned about his players based on that performance?"
He needs a lot of work. I think. He might have had them in today and did a bit of extra. Again, like we've discussed it over this last hour. He needs to get them on the training ground. He needs to show them this is how we want to play. This is how I want to play. And then he needs to settle on his personnel who he thinks is going to do the job for him. But yeah, I think he's learned that maybe he has got a lot of work to do in terms of transforming this team. It can be. Again, I think we're all fairly positive and saying this is a good team.
Yeah,
it just needs direction.
What about you, Anth?
I think, as Lee says, basically, I think he'll have found that perhaps he doesn't. Perhaps he won't feel that the team that he put out there is good enough to do anything in League One after getting beat off a side like Wickham, even though they are second in the table. I think I'm praying that he had them in this morning, the laps or something, just something turgid. Get on the bikes on the side, do 3 hours on the bike.
3 hours on the bike.
Just tie your hamstrings or something. Just something fun. No, I hope that. I hope he's harsh on them. Just put his foot down and get in there and show that he's got some sort of authority and not let the inmates rule the asylum. And he can go in there and say, "Look, that just wasn't good enough." And you best go out there on Tuesday and beat Tranmere or there'll be hell on, and you'll be all out the door. So it's about time we had a manager who was capable of doing that.
Yeah,
and Roy Keane would have been perfect to come back in.
Oh, he would have absolutely loved. Well, I say loved. He would have absolutely done that.
There's
no doubt about that.
Left
yeah.
The PFA have been in with it.
It could have been a bit of an controversial one, but I mean that's what you need, though. You need a little bit of controversy, if nothing else. I mean, I'm not saying that I want an absolute thug as a manager, but like Ross, I just don't believe. I mean, I don't know him personally. I've never at any point did I see his half-time or post-match dressing room speeches, but I imagine him with a cardigan on, hands in pockets, just saying, "Well, we'll work on improving that, lads," and then walking off and giving the exact same speech to the presser. That's what I imagined. Yeah, but like, I mean, I don't know Parkinson enough to know what his character is, but I just want to imagine that he does at least get a bit sort of like fiery with them. Just let them know that it's not acceptable, and let them know that they do need to improve, regardless of how good you think you are and how well you don't work as a team. you should be winning these games.
He's got to have something about him. He's done it before.
Mhm.
He's been there.
Yeah.
It's not as though he's new to the job, or he's
Mhm.
or he's a Jack Ross and he's come down from St Mirren. From somewhere you just think, absolute, 300 people watching the game, and and then you just think, okay, he's been there. Phil
Mhm.
Parkinson, he's been there. He's took teams up. He's took them to cup competitions. So he must have something about him. So he must have, he must have some sort of structure that he works with and says, this is how I do. This is what I want.
Mhm.
And if you don't want it, there's the door.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping I hope he's given the backing by Mr. Stewart.
Mhm.
See if just to say, right, you run it.
Yeah.
We'll back you. So if it means showing a couple of the door in January, then we'll do it.
Yeah. But as well, on the flip side of that, he must be a man who can work with what he's given when he does come to a club. Because as Anth brought up earlier, twice in his career he's worked with transfer embargoes and got promotions in the same season. So he must be able to work with something. I mean, he got Bolton promoted mid-crisis, kept them up mid-crisis. Yeah, they went down next season. But considering how much of a shambles they were as much of a shambles as we were with Martin Bain and Coleman and Grace, and we plummeted. Okay, we know exactly how bad a team can be when they are that sort of like that sort of like downtrodden. But he made it work, and he made it work with virtually nothing. So he, as you say, he must have something about him. He must be able to take what he's got. Whatever he's doing, whether he's grabbing it by the neck or putting his hand around it, he can have what he's got and he can make it work. How he does that is ultimately up to him, but it must be in a more effective and more emotive way than what Ross has done with him. Has to be, and it can't not be if he wants to keep his job. But that's just what we're hoping for. We've got time for one more question. It'll come from John Charlton, who says, "Do you think promotion's still a realistic target, whether it be automatic or via the playoffs?" Anth, over to you.
Yes. We'll always be up there for promotion. So I think even some of the sides in this league are absolutely dreadful and would have to be equally as awful to go out there. And I think we've still got quality in the side to beat, even if we're playing horrifically defensive. We've still got the quality in the side to score one in every game. I know we didn't against Wickham, and that speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll still be up there thereabouts by the end of the season. There's a long way to go. People seem to forget that it's only October, goes till May. There's another 30 games left, maybe more.
I'll have a quick Google while you keep talking.
I think there's about somewhere around 30 games left. There's 90 points. So I think we'll be absolutely fine.
So you're telling me the 100-point season's still on?
It's still on.
If you just said that now live on the ROKER Report Podcast.com, if you just said that?
No. 95 points.
Right, well, there's 46 games in a season, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and we've played 12.
There we are.
So that's
100-point season still on.
34.
102 points left.
Why that takes so long? That was 46. I'm a year 6 math teacher. That was 46 take away 12.
Yes.
Crikey. Okay, moving on. Yeah, so no, definitely, I agree. What about you? What do you think, Lee?
I mean, even playing the way we are, I think we'll scrape into the playoffs. I mean, if I think we've got the game in hand, and we've got 2 games in hand, some of them, but it can change on a little bit of momentum. A couple of good wins, like we said before, a couple of good wins, you get the momentum, you get everybody playing with confidence. If you get that team playing with confidence, they will win games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They will win games. It's as simple as that, and that's what he's been brought into, to bring something back to this football club and the team, to just get that confidence and then to start winning games.
Yeah.
And for me, I think going back to 4-4-2 or something similar, even if it's a 4-3 and a 3 of fun, I don't care. As long as we go more positive, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm. I just think definitely. If you think about the games that when we've maybe played under Ross, where we've had that 20-30 minute spell of luck and clinical, and then we've been dour for the rest. If you take that clinical spell and extend that over a few games, because you've got a team that can do that efficiently and effectively, you're going to win 3 games 3-0, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then suddenly you win 3 games 3-0. You've suddenly got this unreal goal difference, and you've got 9 more points. And then it doesn't take that long at this stage of the season to turn it all around. If you look at Ipswich there today, they just won about 4 or 5 games on the bounce, and then they've just been beaten by Accrington Stanley.
Who were they?
Exactly.
That's better. Yeah, I was waiting for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my own joke.
I said it, but I wasn't sure whether to sort of just join in with the joke or let you just sort of let it fall on deaf ears.
Thanks
I
for
don't
the
know.
silence, Alex. That's fine.
The silence was deafening. But yeah, they've just played Accrington Stanley, who hitherto today's game were in like the relegation zone. So I mean, like your team that's allegedly running away with it is just lost. I mean, puts Gareth Ainsworth's Wickham 1 point away from top spot. Like, but regardless, it's not anyone's league already, is it? Like it hasn't got somebody's name on it. Definitely not. I think it's just momentum, as you say. You just you start winning, and
Well,
then
if you
suddenly...
think you've got Fleetwood, you've got Wickham. I mean, you're just thinking there's Peter, they're standing in the way of Sunderland. You just think there's a chance. We just have to put a few runs together, and then you're up there straight away.
Even Luton didn't have the best of starts. They were about where we are now at this stage of the season, and they were worse. They were a worse side, and they just built on momentum and just become this team, this force.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's exactly what they did. I mean, you've got to think. Let's say we get two things rightly. Let's say we get a system that allows Will Grigg to score goals, and let's say we drop the second holding midfielder. Like, are you or are you not going to win the next 3 games if you start well?
I think fundamentally for me, it's scoring goals. I think if we get a team that is just geared for offensive work, just going forward, and you see getting Grigg to score goals, then the defender that becomes immaterial because you're scoring goals, and teams then have to defend against you. So that was to say the best form of defense is attack, and if we're attacking teams are just becoming a force.
Yeah, forces them back. Doesn't it?
And then because what we do is we tend to score, and then we sit back, and then we're under the cosh, and then
it's a very polite way, isn't it? It's like saying we've scored now it's your turn. Try and have a go, and then if you can't, then we've won. But it doesn't
happen because we tend to always concede.
As it transpires, we don't normally win based on that, as you're right. Yeah, but I think that's it. If you're just relentless and you're just brutal with teams, I'm not going to lose any sleep if we beat Tranmere 4-0. If we totally show them up, that's absolutely fine because we were better than you, and that's it. This is a competitive game, and as you say, if we're just going for it, then surely our defence don't need to be under the cosh because if they're too busy focusing on defending, they can't think enough about attacking.
Well, they'll go that way. They'll play one up front, and we're able to then dominate it. It just, for me, it's pretty simple. But for some reason, we seem to be stuck with this 2 sitting centre midfield players without no mobility. We're one up front, and we sit deep and bang 50, 60 balls up to our forward and expect them to say, "Go on, get on with that."
No, it's the kind of football I would expect us to play if we were fighting relegation in League One.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Honestly, like if we were, I'm scrolling down the table, if we were currently Southend, right, and we were setting up like this, I'd be like, he's not doing too bad of a job, Jack Ross, is he? He's grinding out draws for us. He's nicking the odd win against Rochdale away and MK Dons at home. It's not bad, is it? But the issue is that you've got a team that should be playing like an offensive formation in a formation that is geared towards a team fighting relegation. It doesn't work, and we wonder why we don't have a discernible identity because the players we have just aren't built for the kind of thing that we were setting up for, and it didn't make any sense.
It's like we've forgotten what the aim of football is. It's what the ball in the back of the net, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe just years of fighting relegation have just conditioned us all to not be able to see anything else.
Instead of trying to score goals, we try and not concede them. It's like we say, it's the complete antithesis of football. We need to go out there and score more than the other team. It's as simple as that, I reckon. Just go out there and score goals.
Right, please. Would anyone? I'll say anyone in the studio. Would you two have any bones about it if we won every single game now 4-3?
No,
because we get promoted.
That's it.
It would be unreal as well. Great football.
Yeah. The difference is though, right? If you're going to attack rather than defending that, and then if you win every game 4-3 and 3-2, then suddenly you're promoted. But if you're trying to play for the opposite, like you say, and try and not concede, every game's it's a 1-0, 1-1, 0-0.
That's where we've been 1-1,
yeah,
1-1, 1-1. It just shows you that what type of football we're playing. We're not going out. We might be pinching, or we go behind and then we get one back, and then it's all back against our backs against the wall for the last 20 minutes trying to survive.
Yeah,
we're better than that.
Yeah,
we are so much better than that. The players we've got, we should be able to just absolutely ravage some of these teams. We should be able to pin them back with about 3 goals, absolutely terrify them into submission, make them play 11 men behind the ball, and just win that way. Just win by being the dominant team.
But it's something that we haven't seen. We do see it for 25 minutes,
Yeah,
20 minutes.
yeah.
At home, we were battering to, and then we just go back in our shells. And that, to me, has been bad management for me.
And you can just tell the exact point as well when they stop, because there is like a point in that period where there's something happens, maybe you get an injury or the momentum stops or something, or you miss a penalty or someone gets subbed off, whatever. And then for some reason, or it's half time, then they come back again, and then all of a sudden it's gone. All the momentum just dissipates and it never comes back. Like the MK Dons game, when they were just absolutely, they looked unreal for 20 minutes.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
But they were Max Power had that goal, it really galvanised them. 9 was getting forward, they were all piling on, and then McGiddy misses the penalty, and suddenly they just forget how to do that. Suddenly it's, oh, never mind, lads. We've had our fun. Let's go and try and defend the 1-0 lead now, eh? It's just, or the 2-0 lead rather.
Well, that was for me. I just lost everything with Jack Ross. So that's just saying McNulty by himself and just trying to wrestle 50-yard balls off 2 centre halves. And then I seen White getting stripped, and I thought, good, he's going to play White to help him.
Yeah.
And he brings McNulty up and puts White up within the seat, which has got a bigger lad trying to defend off 50, 60. And I just thought, that's it for me. I'm done.
Yeah. all you did there was you took off one lad and put a lad who was 2 inches taller in the same position. And then
never really changed anything.
I know. And then you expected a whole new. I don't know what he expected, but whatever he tried, it never worked. And I'm sorry to say, but I'm very thankful that he's gone, because hindsight's. I mean,
I ruined my 50th birthday. That's all.
Well, that's as good a reason as any, really, isn't it?
Checker trade trophy, second half. I was absolutely
Jesus. Oh, that was on your birthday.
Well, the next year.
That's a stinker. That
we played well again. We played well, and then you look down and you're just scratching your head, thinking, "What is this man doing to my football team?"
Where did it go?
Yeah.
Where did all of it go? He literally, he took off a striker in the second. He took off the sole striker in the second half. It's like, how do you even describe that? That's like putting that's like having a gun and then just putting something in the nozzle so it can't fire. Like, I don't get it. I remember he did that. I was like, he's built his team. Then he's just cut the head off. Oh, right, okay. Ross is gone. Yeah. Parkinson's in. Parkinson needs to just, look back at what Ross did, please, Phil, and just take notes on what not to do, and then just do what you need to do. Play 4-3-3, play 4-2-2. Keep it simple, keep it effective, score goals, batter them, get us promoted. Job's a good one. Anyway, I think that's a good place for us to end it today. So before we do, we'll just go around the table and I'll get your lads' predictions for the Tranmere game. So just give us who you think's going to play. Well, sorry, no. Give us what you think the score will be. Give us who you think the goal scorers will be, and if you want a very brief synopsis of how you think the game will go. We'll start with you, Lee.
I think it'll be very positive. I think, again, it's his first game at home, Parkinson. I think there'll be a decent crowd. It'll be noisy. And I think he'd be in that dressing room to get them off to a really good start. Yeah, Tranmere have come in, but they'll be expecting us to come at them. So I think they'll go defensive. So it gives us a platform to attack. And if we score early, I'm hoping that things will change slightly and we'll just keep going for it. So I'm looking at 2-3-0. 3-0. I'll go 3-0.
3-0.
3-0.
Nice, lovely, rounded score. Yeah. And what about you?
I'm usually the positive one, and I'm completely opposite.
Don't you dare say 1-1.
I think we're going to. I think we'll show up for the first 20 minutes, and everything will be great. We'll probably score one nice early goal, but I think we'll just sit back again. I think it's like you say, it's ingrained in the side, and I think we'll come away with a lucky 2-1 win. And I think Tranmere will have us in the second half. Although the optimist in it says exactly what Lee says, that we're going to come out and we're going to absolutely pummel them from start to finish, and we'll do 6-0. But that's not going to happen. I think it's going to be 2-1 at full time, and early goal from McNulty, and Griggle score one early in the second half, and then Tranmere will just absolutely pummel us for the rest of the game and get one at about the 70th minute.
Okay, well, thank you, Anth, for your input.
Yeah. I'm like I say, I'm usually the positive one. I'm well surprised that's happened.
Yeah, Anth on his farewell appearance to the podcast.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, I've made that joke like 3 times before already. It wasn't even mine; it was Jeff Stelling's. Anyway, who were your goal scorers, Lee?
I'll go Power. I think Power will get one.
Aye.
I think he'll play. And I think whoever's the striker, whoever he plays the striker will score. So whoever that is.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, any striker will do
Any
at this
striker will
point.
do.
Yeah.
I still think he'll play two up front with White gone. I think his target man option's gone.
Yeah.
I think he'll put two up there.
Yeah.
I'm hoping so anyway. That's how I'd play.
Well, I'm good for my prediction. I'm going to say again. I'm going to go with I think what ought to be the truth rather than what will be the truth. But I think he's going to play a 4-3-3, and I think he's going to play a team that's just sort of like completely like, you know, maybe the negative term will be a glass cannon, but the one I'm going for is just a team that's just built to attack. And I think you'll just go for them. I think as Lee says, they'll come in to defend. You've got Tranmere there, you know, and they've conceded 22 goals this season, the 19th in the league. They're obviously not going to be a good side. They're just fresh from League Two. They're going to come to defend, and I think we are going to turn up and we are going to make it a bit of a cauldron for them. I think we're going to win 2-0. I don't think we're going to be our most clinical, but I think we're going to just be the better team, and it'll be quite a professional performance, and I think it'll be the win that Parkinson needs under his belt. I'm going to go with Power for the first goal, and I'm going to go with Grigg for the second via a good ball from Power, just like from the good old Wigan days from them too.
So let's hope Power's playing them.
Yeah.
Couldn't score goals.
Well,
he'll put Flanagan on as a fifth defender instead.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I just think that's how it'll be. I'm thinking a nice 2-0 win, and jobs are good. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. If you've got this far, as I always say, then I commend you for listening to 1 hour and 11 minutes worth of podcast. Always impressive. And I'll just say thank you for having Lee and Anth join me today just to ramble about an awful game for that same amount of time. So thank you, Anth, for coming along.
Oh, you're very welcome. I love it. I love it.
I can tell. You've had your Cheshire Cat smile for the whole time you have. It's just happy to be out the house. It's like walking a dog.
That's exactly what it is.
And thank you, Lee, for coming along.
No, pleasure. Just wish next time you're in, we're talking about promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
It's almost a cursed phrase as well at this point, but hopefully when we next tune in to record one of these pods on a Sunday afternoon, we'll be talking about a Sunderland win. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.